Welcome to Narratives and Nightcaps, books, beverages, and author conversations. Today, I'm excited to welcome best-selling romantasy author Elle to the show to talk about the finale of the House of Marionne series, Fortress of Ambrose, available October 14th. Hello, Jess. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I'm sure this is so exciting for you, just a great time. So I'm really appreciative that you are taking a minute here to talk to us all about it. But congratulations on this upcoming release.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. I'm a fan of your show. I've heard of it from several author friends, so I was like, "Ooh, my turn."
Thank you. Oh, that means so much. Well, then, as you know, we like to pair nightcaps, air quotes around that, with all of our episodes. Do you have a nightcap pairing for us today?
Yes. So with Fortress of Ambrose, it is the end of a series, and this is a romantasy trilogy. So we are expecting there to be lots of just payoff for all of the terror I put everyone through in books one and two. And so I think I was originally thinking I would go with like my favorite wine, which is a Cabernet, but I feel like that's too dry. This definitely has lots of action, lots of depth. It has a little bit of dryness or darkness, but it's really, really sweet. And like the romance in this book is the best in the entire series. And there's two romances in one, like a surprise second romance. So it's just like doubly fun. So I'm actually gonna go with like something super sweet, like a I actually don't drink sweet wine, but like a anymore. It's like the longer I drink wine, the drier I wanted it to be.
I feel like that's the natural cadence for people. They start really sweet and then slowly get drier.
Yes. Let's go with the Moscato. Let's go with the Moscato.
Okay, I might have to go buy. I don't think I have a bottle of that on standby anymore, but
Yeah, you're in the
um
dry phase with me. Yeah, I'm like Cab Merlot is like the sweetest red I'll do, but
but great, great memories of drinking a lot of Moscato. So cheers
yes,
to that for sure. Wonderful. Well, before we talk about the book a little bit, I thought we could just get to know you with a few questions first.
absolutely.
So, what was the last show or movie you watched?
It was probably with my children. So the more excited okay, so I'll tell you the adult show that I chose to watch and was not like I assume if most some of your listeners might have kids, so they get it. I watched I Love Lucy with my kids recently, which they think is like they were like people had electricity back then. So okay, but the show that I chose to watch, Peaky Blinders, which is like an all-time favorite,
Oh my
always.
goodness. I'm so, well, one, so happy to hear you say that, but two, also so disappointed in myself because that show has everything that screams me and I haven't watched it.
Okay, so this is your homework, okay? So you're going to watch it's just from like for a book lover, the writing is fantastic. So it's like you have great acting, you have silly like you have all these things, but the writing is incredible. And I just think that makes the show even more exciting. And then apparently we're getting like a movie, I think, in 2 more seasons or something I heard recently. So, yes, prepare yourself.
Okay, this was meant to be because I need to dive in. I need to do it.
It's so
And
good.
I know I'm gonna love it. Are you a coffee person or a tea person?
So I actually have an antagonistic relationship with caffeine. It does not my body doesn't like it, but before I realized that I was a coffee person and now, I mean I do enjoy tea, like I can do like an herbal tea because it doesn't generally have caffeine, but I would say if I had to choose, I will smell coffee before drink tea any day. So we can just like brew a pot for smells.
Fair. I'm not gonna lie, when my husband gets up in the morning and he's normally up before I am because he works in the medical field, so he has to get up super early. And whenever he makes coffee beforehand and I just get to wake up and it's already smells that
Yes.
way, it's just I'm
Yes.
like, today's gonna be a good day.
It's like what morning should smell like.
Exactly, exactly. All right, we already talked wine. Are you a cocktail or a mocktail person?
I think it depends on the day and the crowd. Um I haven't cocktailed pretty hard since, like, college, so I would be a little afraid to cocktail too hard, so I don't know, it depends on the day. What day of
Fair.
the week and where am I and who am I with?
So true.
Are there
So
kids present? Like, these are the questions I have.
so true. Yes, 100%. Okay.
So, either.
Timing
I'll do
wise,
either.
timing wise, I have to ask, are you at all a Taylor Swift fan?
So, I yes, I love her older stuff. I do like, One of the books in the series, I, like, wrote most of, like, the rage chapters to one of her, albums. What was it? The album name is escaping me, but it's the one with Vigilante on it. Um
Midnight?
yes, thank you, Midnight. So I, like, rage wrote a lot of chapters from book 2 in the series to that album, but, like, the stuff that I will choose to put on when I'm not writing is usually her older stuff.
Okay, very
Yeah.
that's I like that. I like the range there too. I was curious because I was like, if she's been a fan, I need to know what her favorite
Yeah,
song is on
yeah,
the
no, I've
newest
heard. Oh,
album.
I've heard. The tea is all over my social media. So, yeah.
What was the last book that you read for you?
Oh, I am a Frida McFadden, like, fanatic to the nth degree, and so I read The Inmate, but I would say the one I loved would probably be the one I read before that, which was The Tenant. It's a
Okay.
thriller. I love thrillers.
My co-host Megan she would be right there with you. She loves all caps Frida McFadden. I
Yes.
think she's read almost everything. I just read The Housemaid
Oh,
a few
yes.
weeks ago.
Yes.
I'm
Oh, a few
prepared.
weeks ago. Oh my goodness.
I'm preparing for the movie. I was
That's good, that's good,
I
yeah.
was preparing for the movie, so I read that, loved it, loved it. So I will Megan will be so excited when she listens to this episode to hear that. Well, on that note, then, do you have what's your favorite genre to read?
Ooh, it's a toss-up. I really do love thrillers. I would say it depends on the season, and right now thrillers are, they're just fast. You get in, you get out, but I do love a good, like, deep world. Like, Game of Thrones, I've read that series 3 or more times, and I'll probably read it again. Like, so when I really wanna drown in a world, I wanna go in, like, a huge like, I want to be fully immersed.
Mhm.
But then if I need to read something quickly because things are busy, I'm like, "Nope, give me a quick thriller." So, it's a toss-up.
No, that's true. I also sometimes I think sometimes thrillers can be like a palate cleanser. I know we talk
Yes,
about that a lot with contemporary romance. We're like, "Oh, it's a palate cleanser." But I almost think a thriller can be too,
totally.
especially if you're a fantasy reader, because it is just that quick read in between that you're
Yes.
like,
You're like,
"Okay,
"Get my adrenaline hit and keep going."
exactly." Do you have a favorite book trope or cliché?
Oh gosh, I'm terrible with favorites if you haven't been able to tell by your last 3 questions. But I do. Gosh, there's so many. Okay, how do I pick one? I'm so bad at favorites. If I had to pick one, it is probably like, obviously enemies to lovers, but I'm, like, trying to, like, break that into, like, a subcat like, I want, like, enemies to lovers. They might be, like, forced allies, so they have to work together, and there's one bed. Like, I want layers to the forced proximity, so
Perfect. Oh, well, on the flip side then, do you have one you don't like or one that you intentionally maybe avoid?
yes. I don't dislike it. I roll my eyes there because my best friend, she's a writer too, and, one of my best friends is a writer, and she loves the childhood friends, like, their childhood friends, and I'm like, "Okay, okay," but they can't, like, hate each other because they have this, like, child love between them, and it's, like, her favorite thing, and so every book she writes, I'm like, "Okay, here we go again. They were childhood friends." Anyway, it's good. It's just not my candy. It's not my candy.
And we all like a little bit of variety.
That's
There's
right.
nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
What would you say were some of your earliest influences, whether it's books, films, real life experiences? What really inspired your type of storytelling and just wanting to be a writer?
Oh, I love this question. So many things, and I could wax poetic on that for, like, an hour, honestly.
Feel
But
free.
the quick answer is so there's 2 things. I remember reading Number the Stars when I was in 3rd grade. Are you familiar with Number the Stars? It's by, Lois Lowry. She wrote The
I
Giver.
That was like one of my favorite books.
Me too. I actually tangent, she was the keynote speaker at an event I was an author at, my whole family was there at a book festival, and she ended up having dinner with my family, and we got to just like I was like the woman who inspired me writing books, like, her table was next to ours, and their tables are really close in this restaurant, so we just kept, like, looking over, and I was saying, "I loved your keynote, and you've inspired me." Just like, I don't wanna interrupt her dinner, but she was eating alone, and eventually she just, like, moved to our table, and we literally had dinner with me, my children, my whole family. I still look at these because at one point I just started taking a video of her and my husband talking because I was like, this is not real."
No,
But,
you just give me chills.
I know, like, I was anyway, so it was something I will never ever forget. But Number the Stars is a book that that really showed me at a very young age that like fiction has the power to make readers feel empathy and care. Like I had read about the Holocaust and I had learned about it and I had learned about different tragedies like on our own continent, but it was different from like sitting in the head of the character and experiencing that emotion. And that was the moment that I realized, oh wow, books can like affect how you see the world and how you feel. And then like fast forward to just kind of like me as a human being, like I say outside of the book industry, I was like in real life, like not author life, but real life. Because writing books is like some magical adventure that is gonna end one day, I'm sure. Like it's not real, but it is. But anyway, in real life, I am more of I just am really passionate about loving people. Like I just think there's a lot of hurt and brokenness in the world, and people are just there just needs to be more love. There needs to be more kindness, more love, and just more appreciation and validation of humanity. And so in all of my books, and I didn't realize this until like 6 books in all of my books, there is this thread of just like reckless, unconditional, fiery love for people because I just think that's humanizing and validating, and I think it's healing for the world. So I didn't mean this to sound like a Miss America speech, but there you go.
No, I'm so glad you did. I because we've talked about it similarly on the podcast before, and like part of the reason that we even started this show, well, was for a number of reasons. But was because like the impact that fiction stories in particular, but books in general have just had on our lives with empathizing with different people from different walks of life and learning different perspectives. And I think every genre has the ability to teach that, to show people that. And so I'm so glad you did. You and not to make it about me too, but your interaction with Lois Lowry too reminds me this was not in person. But in addition to Number the Stars, which I I haven't heard someone bring that book up in so long, and that
Right?
was one of my all-time favorite books. Um, but I growing up too, when I was younger, I used to read a lot of Ellen Hopkins.
Mm.
And then with this show, I remember last year we got contacted and they were like, "Would you be interested in an interview with Ellen Hopkins?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, what? Like
Yes.
the Ellen Hopkins, or like is there a new one? What's going on?" And they're like, "No, would you be interested in having her on the show?" And I was like, well, yeah, of course. We're 100 we would love to. And it was so surreal to and I was trying really hard not to fangirl, to be like, "I literally read so many of your books growing up." But she was another author that from a young age, her stories, although, like, tackled such difficult topics in some situations, like, really taught the empathy, and it was so interesting to talk to her too, so I'm so glad you went down that road because it's it's a space and something a message that I hope our little show is able to convey in some way by lifting up your voice and other voices as well.
Well, thank you. And that's just endearing to hear for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, let's jump into it though. Without major spoilers, which is hard because this is book 3, but without major spoilers, can you give us a quick overview of Fortress of Ambrose and what readers can expect from this finale?
Oh, goodness. Without me no, I can't, okay. Um, so it's book 3, and, I am a writer who writes a lot of twists. I mean, I love thrillers, so there
Makes
is a
sense.
thrillery tone to my writing that I've found in all my books, and so there are a lot of shocking things. People who are supposed to be dead somehow aren't, and I love to play with angst, and I love impossible stakes, and so gosh, it's very hard to give you any details about book 3, but I will try because there's so many twists that lead into book 3, like the very existence of the some of the characters in book 3, you're like, "Wait a minute." There that alone is a spoiler. But I will say this. So, for people who are new to the series, book 3 is by far what we're building to. It's my favorite, it's the best. There's a surprise second romance in it, which is absolutely it's honestly, I shouldn't say this. It's my favorite romance in the series, and they're not even the main characters. It is so good. It is the best romance I've ever written, and I think honestly, it's because of the setup. So with that, I'm gonna try to give you this without spoilers because I think this is the most delicious part of the series. There are 2 people who have to work together to find something, and he is planning to steal what they find from her because he has no loyalty to her whatsoever, She is hoping he will fall in love with her because she used to have a different alias, like different person, like magically she looked different, and he was actually in love with her, but he thought she died. But he has this vengeance against liars. So she's like, I can either tell him the truth and he writes me off, or I can hope he falls in love with real me because it's me. And this really tragic part is the reason he wants to steal this thing from her that they find is because he wants to resurrect that dead girl who never existed. So it is like just like the angst when they're dancing and like you're in her head and his head, and it's just like, and then at one point she like almost tells him. Anyway, it's just delicious. And then there's another twist on top of that where I complicate things. Also fun to know, book 3 was going to be 2 books. It was gonna be book 3 and book 4, and my editor and I decided it was best to kind of put it into 1. So at the midpoint, you really do get quite a climax, and then you kind of pivot to some more high stakes. So it is a very high octane, let's get in here. I mean, it's fantasy, it's not a thriller, but it moves. Um, the other thing that I think is really fun about this one is that, the House of Marionne world is this juxtaposition between beauty and darkness and how, they really have to exist in relationship with each other, and so you appreciate the beauty when you're aware of the darkness around it, and the way your relationship with the darkness around it is usually influenced or shaped by your sort of your relationship with the beauty. And sometimes the beauty you see is in the darkness and not in the surface level beauty. And so that's really what this book is in conversation with. So you have this glittering debutante world, modern day debutante world that's functioning as a secret magical society. And so there's the ball gowns and there's the wealth and there's the dresses and there's all of these things and these beautiful magical tiaras that grow out of their head. And there's these etiquette classes and the guys are so suave and there's, it's just, it's very swoony in that way. And then this world has this really gritty, nasty underbelly. And so what I love about book 3 is they both come to, like, crashing together, and you really begin to see, like, what happens when you take something that, is supposed to be dark and dangerous, but at its core is actually really beautiful, nobody sees it, and you, like, use it to break the world. So, anyway, there's a lot in there that I'm really passionate about. Romantically, it's, like, super swoony, and the angst is just, like, killer. If you just wanna go in for I have had readers just read book 3. They're like, "I'm just gonna start with book 3," and so they were, like, confused for the first, like, 6 chapters, but then you, like, you figure out what's going on, and then they were, like, in, and they were like, "I loved it," and I thought that was funny. So, it is certainly not a standalone, but if you don't mind a little bit of confusion for the first few chapters, you can, yeah. So, anyway, I have had readers do that and leave like, 5-star reviews, so go figure.
I mean, on one level, I respect it because I'm like, yeah, do you? On another level, I'm the type A in me is like,
I
that's
know.
diabolical.
I
What
know,
is
you're like,
this?
"You're missing. You don't understand the weight of the moment." Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
get it.
wait, there's like really important stuff that
Yeah.
happens.
Oh, yeah, like, massively important stuff.
Um, oh my gosh, that's so funny though. You're talking a bit about the world, which I absolutely immediately like. I was like dark academia, like the debutantes, I was just like, I'm so in this. But tell me a little bit about your writing process and specifically like how you approach world building. What inspired this universe in particular?
That's interesting. So I had this, like, image. I was actually having a conversation with a friend of mine, and she'd mentioned something, and I got this image in my head of a crown growing out of someone's skull, and I was like, "That is, like, beautiful and a little creepy." And so that really became sort of the inspiration for the world I wanted to create. I was like, I want to create a world where there is this beauty. I didn't know anything about the type of world it would be. I just knew I wanted it to be sort of the epitome of beauty and elegance, but I wanted it to also have this like painful darkness to it. And so I thought, what about like a secret society? And then that didn't feel fancy enough. So I was like, okay, what about a debutante society? I was like, okay, now it feels fancy because I can do dances and etiquette classes and magic classes. But then I figured that in a world like that, especially in like a dark academia setting, there would be an underbelly. There would be the people who don't fit in the world. There would be the people who were in the world and rejected from it. There would be the people whose magic doesn't fit neatly into the boxes that society says it needs to fit into. And those people would form their own groups and factions and sort of underground communities. And so I wanted to write from both worlds. And so that's kind of where the story was born, was really trying to bring this concept of beauty and darkness to light in sort of the fullest sense of its word. I wanted I wanted to play with forbidden magic, and so, because that became like the foundation to my main character's sort of origin story. She lived her life as a runaway, and because her magic was forbidden, and then she finds the only place she can go in book 1 when she's on the run for her life is to her grandmother's house, which is a magic school. It's where they train this proper magic. And so she's there with this dark secret that she'd be killed for. And she's her goal as she enters the school is to bury her dark magic, because if she can master the proper magic, it'll erase her dark magic. And so she enters the school to really erase everything about herself that's unique and special, because she doesn't see it that way, because that's not how the world defines it. And so it's really this explorative journey of her figuring out who she is and who she's allowed to be, and recognizing that she has an inner power and an inner beauty. And though the world might kill her for it, maybe it's worth saving. It gets complicated because she falls in love with an assassin who would kill her if he knew, because that's his job. So, we shake things up a bit, but
And
he
he's
also
hot.
too yeah, Jordan's yeah. But the thing about Jordan is that I didn't want to just explore the world from a girl who came from the outside of it. I wanted to explore a story where there's someone from outside the world who could, like, show up in the world and kinda see the world for what it was, but I wanted to also have a character who was inside the world, born in the world, and that's their only that's the way they view everything. It's their paradigm. And I wanted to explore, like, how hard is it to break someone's paradigm when they grow up in it? Um, it's harder than the person from the outside, and so I really wanted to play with that. I thought it gave us good romance stakes too. So, I also love multi-point of view. So I knew I wanted a multi-point of view book. So in book 1, you have an assassin who is not the love interest, and you have the main character, Kel. In book 2, you have the love interest, Kel, and a third surprise character. And then in book 4, I'm sorry, in book 3, you have all 4 characters back. So every single character you've heard from in books 1 and 2, you have all 4 POVs in book 3.
Okay, what does your red string look like in trying to figure out all of their different perspectives, finding their voices, and then putting all of those puzzle pieces together?
I think it starts from their relationship with the world. So, I'm not gonna spoil one of the major twists at the end of book 1, but there are 2 male perspectives and 2 female perspectives. And there's a purpose in that, that becomes clear at the end of book 1 and at the end of book 3. But I wanted to play with each of these perspectives having a different relationship with magic in the world. And so when I've kind of sunk deep into that character's opinion, and into their head, their voice just became very clear to me. Like, Cal, as a runaway in this world with this dark secret, she has certain things that she worries about that, like, her love interest doesn't. And when I was writing from his perspective, I actually, before I wrote anything for the series, I wrote from his background. Like, I wrote scenes from when he was a little boy, when he learned about magic. I wrote scenes between him and his parents to kind of feel out what their relationship was like, and like why he felt unloved and not good enough. He's actually not a firstborn, even though he acts like a firstborn. He's a secondborn. And then I wrote from another guy's perspective who doesn't want to be in this world. He has to be because the people, in charge of him kind of dictate how his life's going to go, but he's an assassin and he doesn't want to be. He's like a reluctant assassin. And it's not because he cares about the people he's assigned to unalive. It's really the fact that he wants control and agency over his own choices in life. And so he's not interested in the order. And then he falls in love with someone who's not in the order, like a regular unmarked person, marked or magical, unmarked or not magical. And he really wants to be with her, but magic is supposed to marry magic. So he's like, torn. And then the fourth POV is someone who has a very unique relationship with the world, where she is like in the world squarely. I don't want to ruin who her identity is, because her existence is a twist. But I will say she is someone who should have really good magic, and she was born with none. And so her mother was not happy about that, because she's an embarrassment to the family. So it's a secret that they try to hide. And so once I'm like steeped into each of their experiences, their voices just feel very different. The things they think about, the things they want, lead me in kind of their unique directions, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. No, it does. It sounds like it sounds like you're one of those writers where, like, once you understand them, you understand their background and their motivations, that they probably just speak to you as you're writing. Would you say then, were there any unexpected turns that your characters took you on that you didn't plan for, but as you were writing as you were really uncovering where the story was going, you went in a totally different direction?
Yes, actually a couple. One was reader directed, so I love telling the story. The book one was out, and I was heading on tour, and I had written 85% of book two, and I was about to kill off a character, an assassin character, not the love interest, a different one. And when we would have, readers ask questions at my tour events for book one, everybody wanted to ask questions about him. In the back of my mind, I was just like, "These poor people, like, I'm about to kill him off in book 2." So I just said it out loud eventually. After, like, the 3rd event, I was like, "Guys, everybody keeps asking about this." And the entire crowd was like, and so I changed it. I went back to the drawing board and I said, "What am I misunderstanding?" I wanted to unalive him because I know people love him. But I was thinking from a writer perspective, it's like that will gut them. This is what George R. R. Martin did to me with Ned Stark, okay? So I was like, maybe I wield more power over there. I like to puppet master the emotions of my readers. Maybe I wield more power emotionally if I keep him alive and I put him through more drama. So I kept him alive. I unalived someone else. And he ended up him living through the end of the series. And like, he ends up being, I mean, gosh, this is a little bit of a spoiler. He is in the romance that I love, the one that I said is the best romance in the book, and that would have never happened had I not allowed myself to consider that he had more potential than just upsetting my readers.
Well,
Isn't it
I
wild? He
I'm
was not
obs
to be alive past book 2, and
love
he's
that
like
story.
he is I think he is, like, the fan favorite in book 3. I would be shocked. I expect when I go on tour next week to have questions about him. I expect, because people love him. He's the underdog. They love him more than the love interest. They do. He's like this bitter, salty assassin who just wants agency over his life, and he wants the girl that he loves, and she's dead, and he's gonna resurrect from the dead, and he doesn't care who he has to betray to do it.
I
And you
mean,
just can't help but want him to win.
I was gonna say, how can you not root for
I
that?
know, I know. And I was gonna kill him, I'm awful. Okay, so then the other one is, I won't tell you what it is because it's a spoiler, but it's the twist at the very end of book 3. That was, it began to become apparent to me that I needed to explore that, and I didn't know that that's where I was going when I was writing book 1.
Okay, that has me so intrigued. What would you say for you with this series was the most challenging part with writing?
Gosh, trying to condense 2 books into 1, that was hard. I really thought I needed 4 books. I love the way we did it. I think 3 is great, but my goodness, because it was I mean, those 2 romances were gonna be in 2 different books.
Mhm.
And so figuring out how to layer that together in the plot was hard. It was very hard. And she's thick. She's like 145, 145,000 words, 20,000 longer than the other 2.
That makes sense. I mean, you need that for the epic finale, and I could, yeah, trying to condense 2, I can't even imagine, oh, the mental work that that went into
It was so hard. It was so hard.
all of that, but so rewarding at the same time. We kinda touched on it, and then I was like, we'll come back to it. We obviously love the romance and we love the fantasy and we love them combined, but like at the heart of this story from book one through the rest is Kel. Um, with her character journey, and you mentioned it, like this is, especially with book one, a lot about her identity and questions that she has about her identity, finding herself, also not wanting to repress the pieces of her that make her her. Was the female empowerment with her character a conscious decision, or would you say it more evolved naturally with the story?
No, totally conscious, totally conscious. I knew quite a bit of the framework for Kel and the world before I entered the series. Like, I knew the kind of bigger picture stakes with magic at the end of book 1 and at the end of book 2 and at the end of book 3 before I started writing. And I knew where Kel's journey fit within that. What I wanted to tackle with her is this concept of like a paradigm shift. And so when you're brought up to believe that, and gosh, I don't want to ruin it. When you're brought up to believe that Tishana, which is what forbidden magic is called, is bad, and it shapes the way you live your life. She's lived as a runaway. She does not tell people her name. Every time teachers would get suspicious or start asking questions about her home life, her mother would pull her and they would move to a different city. So and that is very traumatizing. And so she didn't have permission to think any other way. So she internalized this idea of this magic that I have is bad. And I wanted to interrogate that idea, that who gets to say Tashana is bad? And why do they get to say Tashana is bad? And what happens when we dig into that and evaluate who's making the decisions and why they're making the decisions? And what happens if we like orient our concept of good and bad differently? Um, I see value in like people having those conversations about what is good and what is bad, but there is a sort of a decided corruption in oppressive power structures being able to delineate this is bad and we say so for these one, two, three selfish reasons. And so I really wanted to challenge that paradigm. And I wanted Cal to be at the center of that, where she was taught something about herself. And then she's really given the space to explore that and arrive at her own conclusion about who she is and whether or not she thinks that the magic she has to give to the world is bad.
But the parallels just to what our world is today and our culture and society too, like, and that, I mean, goes back to what we were talking about kind of at the beginning, is how fiction can really help you explore that and challenge that in your real life too. I love that, and I absolutely, I mean, Kel's journey through this has just been, it has been so incredible. And I think I really like that in the romantasy genre a lot right now, which as we know has exploded these past few
Yes.
years in
Yes.
particular. Why do you think this genre is resonating so deeply with readers across all ages?
I mean, it's gonna go back to my Miss America speech. Like, I don't think, I like am deeply convicted of this. Like, there is a deep hunger, I think, in every single person to be loved. And I think that the more we look around the world, okay, this is like deeply rooted. I'm gonna try not to. Every time, the more we look around the world and see such hatred and um, harm done to people and people's humanity being diminished, I just think it makes people turn into that innate desire for love so much more. And so they want to read about it. They want to breathe it in. They want to escape into a fantasy world where love is actually powerful and love matters and love, um, love like wins in most romantasy books. I know there's some that are tragedies, but I think the heart of them is that, oh, the romance is going to win and they're going to be together most of the time. They might burn down the world in the progress, in the process, but the world, the romance will win. And there's something about that I think is like tending the hearts of people who are just longing for just more love. In fact, and I shouldn't say this, this might be a later question, but I'm gonna say it anyway. My next series, I decided to fully, fully talk about this love stuff. I haven't even announced it publicly. Nothing has been announced about it. But it's like into copy edits. We're looking at covers, like it's done, done, done. We're actually playing around with title changes now. But the point is, it is about love on the nose and it's dystopian. Um, and I was just like, I'm gonna stop skirting around this topic because in dystopian, you can go in like very directly. And so once I realized my brand is, because I was like, what marries my books? And then it took me years to realize, oh, it's my perspective on love. That's what it is. And anyway, so the next one is very on the nose about love, and I love it fiercely. So
I'm so excited. I mean, that's just, it's so eloquently said. And if that's the message of this entire episode, then I am 100% back it because I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I know, like, thankfully, we're in a space that most people lift all of that up. I know sort of outside perspectives sometimes like to joke about all of that, but I think at the heart of it, the romantic genre is having such an impact on readers of YA, adult, all of the above because of those reasons. And even if they do burn down the world or flip it upside down, or they become the villains in the process, because are they really villains by doing that? Like, there's just so many ways to explore it. I think that's really, really amazing for this genre right now. Your path to publication, I mean, a best-selling author now, I'm sure was likely just a dream when you started your writing journey and so incredible. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced, specifically, like, when it came time to go through into the publishing process with your career, and how did you overcome them?
The overcome part is just you have to keep going. The obstacles, there were several and different kinds, you know. It's very I'm sure from the outside it looks very like impressive, but on the inside, all writers are like deeply insecure and we suffer from imposter syndrome and it's our art, we put it in front of people and they are able to make their own judgments about it as is their right because it's, once they take possession of it, it's like the art is theirs and that's totally how it works, but it's just hard to put a piece of yourself in front of the world and say, "Okay, now tell me what you think?" And so I think keeping going is probably the hardest. There were all kinds of obstacles. I mean, goodness, when I queried, I remember getting over I got 3 offers, and I did end up I was very fortunate because when I did query to get an agent, I had entered a pitch contest on, Twitter, then Twitter, the app formerly known as, and, it went viral. So I had, like, access to agents' attention because of that viral pitch, but I still ended up with, like, 35 or more rejections, once they had pages, and so, rejection is just part of it, and you have to really learn to embrace it, so that's a big obstacle mentally to get over is that there is no, point in the writing career where you stop getting rejection. Whether it's Target is not gonna put your book in their store, or this editor didn't like it, or this reader didn't like it. And you begin to just kind of embrace, I've made the book that I could make with my abilities and my skills, and I'm passionate about it. I put what I wanted to say in there, and then I put it in the world, and then I just move on to the next one. So that was hard. And then a second part I think of that or challenge with that is just remembering that you a career as an author is not made by one book or one series. For some people it is, if they have like blockbuster success very quickly, but for the large majority of authors, we are in this for so many years. We were just talking about Lois Lowry. How many books has she written? And so it is really a marathon, not a sprint. And that has been something I've had to constantly remind myself that there are many books in me, and I just have to give myself the time and patience to get them out.
That is amazing advice and applies in so many different, I would say, industries or fields, anything like that. But definitely writing is it's a vulnerable career in so many different ways. So thank you for just like sharing that with everybody and with listeners because I think there are a lot of aspiring writers that listen to this too and just always hearing about the journey and the path and the time and overcoming those mental challenges to keep going, like you said. I was copywriting something earlier today, and I literally wrote "keep going" down on it because I was just like, keep going, just
Yeah.
don't give up, don't stop." So that's amazing. Um, how does it feel emotionally to be wrapping up this series? I know you said you're like, I'm about to go on tour
Yeah.
and that we've already got the next one in copy edits and everything. But is there a moment you've ever like that you sat down to be like, okay, this like I'm wrapping up this series?
So when I wrote the end, so first of all, I know my book is ready when I cry during edits. Oh, so I know my book is ready from edits when get emotional when I'm revising. Like there's points where I'm like wrapping up or like dotting in a message from the reader. And the way I will say it is like when I'm making the point, I will get emotional because I'm like, oh, that's the heart of the book right there. So when I wrote the heart of Fortress of Ambrose, and I was, like, writing the moment where I mean, obviously, it's a romance, so this isn't a spoiler, where the guy realizes that she's the person and the person he loves is really dead. Um, that was sort of when I mourn is not the right word, but that is when it hit me that I was writing the end because it was like for those characters, it was like, this is what he's longed for. He wanted love. He's wanted love for years, and it was the moment that he, like, could have it, and it just, like I just wept and wept and wept and wept. Um, Gosh, though, but because of the way books published, that was a year ago. So, like, I'm a very emotionally removed
I've moved on.
over it. The tissue has been cried on and tossed. Okay, it is at the landfill at this point, I imagine, or hopefully they recycled it. But yeah, but at the time when I'm writing sort of the end in their heads, that's when it hits me. And it was hard to say goodbye to these characters because the world is so big and there's so many more stories I could tell in this world, but it felt like the right end for those 4. I've put them through so much. Like, goodness, they need a break.
Absolutely, absolutely so, and I think you have to listen to that feeling that tells you, like, this is time, and it doesn't mean that the world isn't continuing in any way, shape, or form, but just for the series, for these 3 books, it is. So, with that, you're getting ready to go out on tour. Where are some of your stops?
So I am headed to the Maryland, DC, Virginia area. I will be at Park Books in Severna Park, Maryland. I'll be in conversation with Allie Hazelwood and Shannon Spann. We all know who Allie is. Shannon Spann is an upcoming debut author with a fantastic, one of the best books I've ever read. It's out in February. It's called A Stage Set for Villains. It was actually when we planned to do this event, or when I, in my head, planned for her to do this event with me, her book release date was in September. So it was already going to be out. So now it's not out because they moved to February. So unfortunately, readers at the event won't be able to buy it. They could pre-order it. So anyway, so I will be there. And then from there, I'm going to St. Paul. I'm going to Red Balloon Books or Red Balloon Bookshop and in Minnesota. And then I'm going to Annabelle's bookstore in Los Angeles. And then I'm going to do a Houston event Thursday at my local indie. So if any of, I don't know when you're putting this out, but if any of your listeners want a signed copy, oh, perfect. If they want a signed copy, or one of the things that's really fun is I have these character overlays, which are just beautiful scenes from the book. And it's a scene from that couple that I told you about on at a vineyard. It's beautiful. If you want the overlay, all of the books ordered from my local indie come with it. So, and they're signed. So, and they have until like middle of next week to get that. So anyway, plenty of time for that. And then I'm doing Y'all Fest in South Carolina and Charleston, and then I'm doing Miami Book Festival. So those are my tour stops for the year.
Oh my goodness, amazing. I was at Miami Book Festival, gosh, that was a couple of years ago
I've never
now.
been. I'm so excited.
It's a great one.
Is it a
It's
good one? Okay.
yeah, it was good. I mean, it's been a couple of years. I was actually there for like a smaller book festival that was leading into Miami Book Festival and everything, so that's why I was there a couple of years ago, but it's a good one. If it was closer, I would 100% drive down to see.
Where are you?
I'm in Tampa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
if you feel like popping up here, let me know.
I know. Did you read Bitten by Jordan
I
Grimes?
haven't yet.
It is
No.
delicious. It is
I
so good.
need to.
I read it,
Okay.
for Blurb, like, before it came out, and, I think she did some events in that area, so I was curious. But yeah, that one's great, and I would love to go to Tampa at some point. This is gonna be my first visit as an author to Florida. I haven't done any Florida events. Yeah.
My
I've been
goodness.
invited, but it was, like, too close to the pandemic, and I was like, "Mm." And then, earlier in the series, I think my book 1 tour was 12 stops, and I was just like, "I feel like I'm gonna be exhausted," so we just capped it at 12, so I didn't get to make it in Florida, unfortunately. But this time, we were like, "Let's do Florida," so
Well, I mean, your entire tour sounds amazing and like some great, great, great conversation. So I hope listeners in those areas are able to attend. I love going to author events when I'm able to. So I'm
me
so
too.
excited for you. And I hope you have a wonderful time at the Miami Book Festival. The weather should be really nice.
I'm
Like
hoping.
we're sort of heading, I say that, we're sort of heading into like nice weather here. It it means you won't
Relative.
sweat a lot.
I mean, I live in a very hot place, I get it. Like,
So
boot season here is like, "Oh, it's under 90, let's put on boots."
exactly. I'm like, "Oh, 75. I'll wear a scarf and a
Yeah,
beanie."
exactly, I know. So you have to get it where you can. You have to get it how you can.
And where can readers and listeners connect with you online?
The best place to find me is on Instagram at author JL. That's AuthorJelle.
Fantastic. Jess, this was so much fun. Thank you for making Narratives and Nightcaps one of the stops to talk about Fortress of Ambrose, which is available October 14th.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.